I'm not kidding when I say this. This might be the biggest Pokemon leak of all time.
Butterfree, go!
Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys a brand new video today, and today we're gonna dive into some of the biggest Pokemon leaks of all time. I'm not even kidding, this stuff is wild. Source code from Pokemon have leaked from a couple years ago, and it reveals a ton of information about what the Pokemon franchise was thinking about doing, what they ended up doing, and much, much more. As a Pokemon fan, I just find this stuff super duper entertaining, and I think you guys will as well. I will be honest, this is not about the Crown Tundra though. This is about Pokemon X and Y, Pokemon Sun and Moon, and a throwback to some of these games that were supposed to come out that maybe never actually did, some of the stories that changed, and much, much more. We're gonna dive into it together. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. YouTube tells me about 50% of you guys are actually not subscribed to the channel, so what's up with that? Let's change that right now and make sure you guys subscribe, because we do have a lot of amazing Crown Tundra content coming on the channel. But I had to make some time to talk about this because this stuff is incredible. I'll have all the links in the description for all the sources if you guys want to check it out yourself. Without further ado, let's dive into the mystery of Pokemon X and Y and what happened with Pokemon Sun and Moon. So the first kind of part of this actually dates all the way back to 2014. A person anonymously posted on 4chan, a message board, saying, hey, I am X and Y Cider, or X and Y Insider, and I'm coming with some interesting information regarding the content of X and Y. I've gathered sources from within Game Freak, some members who are currently working on projects and beyond, and they go on to break down a ton of information about what X and Y was supposed to be. It goes on to state that a lot of people kind of anticipated this, but X and Y was indeed very rushed in creating those 3D models for the first time, so they did not have as many new Pokemon that they wanted to initially launch, and then they initially had to kind of rush through those 3D models to get Pokemon X and Y out. And if you guys recall, Pokemon X and Y came out, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, and then there was a gap year before Sun and Moon finally launched. That's very important to talk about these leaks. The gist of these X and Y leaks actually talks about the fact that there was supposed to be aliens involved in the Pokemon X and Y storyline, and these Team Flare members were supposed to be kind of like Men in Black, which is, of course, a movie that takes place with aliens coming in. You got the characters with the little light thing that makes you forget stuff. Well, anyway, that was supposed to be the main story of X and Y. AZ, the super large character that ends up appearing with his Floette, was actually supposed to be one of these aliens according to this anonymous poster. And furthermore, both Xerneas and Yveltal were also supposed to be alien-type life forms that had super weapon Pokemon-type traits. So some pretty crazy stuff here. Furthermore, fairy-type Pokemon, of course, introduced in the X and Y games, had more of a plot-type presence. They were like aliens that came from the moon, came to Earth, and then they learned to live with humans in peace, but again, this idea never materialized, ended up kind of getting scrapped. And then Diantha was intended to be one of these more benevolent moon aliens, kind of the leader of these fairy types. So again, we're kind of going down a crazy rabbit hole, but just stick with me on this. The post goes on to say that a lot of these elements of these aliens were then kind of scrapped simply because it seemed a bit too weird and maybe a little bit too hard to follow, and a lot of things ended up changing. This post also goes on to talk about Pokemon trainers like Viola, the bug-type gym leader, originally being a ghost-type gym leader who would capture paranormal events with her camera. It goes on and talks about a lot of different things, Grant and Corinna being the first gym leaders that were supposed to be sports stage, so you could do different things with that. They talked about Ramos and Wolfric were supposed to be the rodeo rider and the surfer mentioned above, and those were changed. Clement and Bonnie were switched, and a lot of things changed throughout the creation of Pokemon X and Y. It talks about other Mega Evolutions that would have been dropped, and all sorts of crazy stuff going on here. But again, this plants a rumor from 2014 about aliens supposedly in X and Y. And why am I telling you about this random post from 2014? Well, because a lot of it came to be true. The next thing we're gonna look at is a post from 2019 from Nintendo Soup, which I actually remember reading, and I think I made a video on, but I'm not positive on. But it takes a look at some of this same stuff about Pokemon X and Y and looks at that same concept of these moon aliens and these aliens, and if that was actually supposed to be the case for Pokemon X and Y, and how the story would have been much different, and how, you know, they had this crazy alien Men in Black plot line that ended up getting scrapped. But now let's take a look at what actually has gone down from this source code, because this is where things get really crazy. So here I have Eclipse_TT on Twitter, and they talk a lot about cut content from Pokemon X and Y sourced from Game Freak employees. X and Y, the Lost Alien plotline. X and Y were rushed to meet the 2013 release date and led to many plot elements, areas, and features being downplayed or cut entirely. The original story had a strong paranormal bent. Team Flare was originally supposed to be like Men in Black. Their mission was to hunt down AZ, a fellow alien who had crash landed on Earth long ago. The giant wandering wise man was meant to destroy Earth and its warring inhabitants, but had a change of heart and defected upon meeting Floette. This post then goes on to say that AZ's float was never distributed, which we know about, but it could still be found in the game's code with unique stats and more. It even had a signature move, and this could have been, this story could have been given to AZ to give it more importance, but at the end, the key to the ultimate weapon was just a key in AZ's netlist. Living in exile on Earth, aging slower than humans, the plot would have had Team Flare searching for him since he holds the key that can destroy the Earth, but in this version, the key was held by Floette as the two remained friends. Xerneas and Yveltal were originally supposed to be alien life forms, and they were supposed to be super weapons. And again, this post goes on to say a lot of the things that came from that original post from 2014. It also says that Sycamore and Lysander were originally at one point the same character, the former being a scientist who was exposed to a space rock, with the Lysander half being the alien's leader that takes control of him, kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That is a crazy concept to think about. And when you first meet Sycamore outside of the intro sequence and you first meet Lysander, they are like, it is crazy to think about that in an alternative universe, like Pokemon was gonna make them the same character. This post goes on to talk about how Looker would have had a more significant role in investigating the alien threat. He eventually was not really part of it. This talks about fairy types and how they were coming from the moon and how fairy types were a much more important kind of piece of the puzzle here. And then it goes on to talk about different characters like Diantha and all sorts of stuff, right? The sundials. I mean, there's so much information here about this lost alien plotline, which is crazy. And again, we go back to 2014 when this was first leaked through an anonymous post on 4chan, and now all of this is coming out through source code, which is absolutely crazy. But some of the craziest stuff here comes out from Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. So let's shift gears from the aliens of Pokemon X and Y and talk about the game that actually had aliens or Ultra Beasts in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. We see some really cool stuff like a Melee Island beta map, which actually shows Melee Island as a beta. Looks really cool. There's actually a model of Red, and actually a model of Red that seems to have some sort of beard or facial hair. Kind of makes me wonder if you would actually be able to play as Red, or if he was just gonna be a character that showed up. Obviously, he shows up at the battle tree, I believe, in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. It also talks about Nintendo utilized the Visual Boy Advance, a fan-made emulator on their console. There's no evidence of what they plan to do exactly, but they might test to do a future idea of a GBA virtual console. There's so much information here that's really crazy that they were actually utilizing Visual Boy Advance, which is a fan-made software. It talks about the different code names of all the Pokemon and how they had different code names as they were being developed in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So there's a really cool list of that. It talks about various testing maps that you can see. This is crazy stuff to look at. I mean, this is nuts. Like I'm flipping through some of this stuff. We'll have it on the screen for you guys as well, some of these testing maps. It is actually really nuts to see how all this came together. We see another character model here, which is different palette colors, but it looks very similar to Red. It has a very similar vibe to Red. I think one of the craziest things and one of the biggest takeaways here is kind of the summary page that indicates that there was indeed going to be a Kalos Reserve 3 and 4, which indicates that there was initially going to be a Pokemon X and Y remake or reimagined slated after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. However, they never did that. And what that does for us is that actually opens up a really interesting proposition. Myself included, I initially went into Pokemon Sword and Shield, not sure what to expect. We got the DLCs now, and now we're expecting there's a good chance that we're gonna get Dominant Pearl remakes next year. And then after that, the next sequential thing would be either a break year or a new generation, which seems very soon. I wonder if they would actually revisit the Galar region one more time, similar to what they initially planned to do with Pokemon X and Y. Very crazy stuff to think that there was going to be a Pokemon X and Y version 2 after Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That is some crazy stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I find this stuff super duper interesting, and while I wish I could spend hours and hours diving through this information, I will give you guys all the research and all the resources in the description below if you wish to dive a little bit deeper yourself. I think one conclusion that we can make is the unfortunate circumstances that the reality of it is Pokemon, Nintendo, and specifically Game Freak seem to be under incredible timelines and pressure to create these games as fast as possible, and I think ultimately us us, we, the Pokemon fans, are the ones that suffer. The reality of it is, Pokemon is not, it doesn't need to be a game like Breath of the Wild, right? But as long as the games continue to do as well as they have, we're never gonna really get that Breath of the Wild style game, is really what it comes down to. And I hate to say that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Pokemon in itself is an incredible franchise, an incredible game, but it seems more and more, time and time again, we do see that they do seem to be rushed when it comes to creating these games, as they weren't even able to fit in the Pokemon X and Y version 2 that a lot of us were hoping to get, Pokemon Z or whatever it may be. It is really cool to see these ideas though, like the alien plotline that was supposed to originally take over in X and Y, be integrated into Sun and Moon through the Ultra Beasts. While it wasn't quite the same thing, it was still really cool, and it served to be a very, very integral part of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. A little bit different than what we would have gotten in Pokemon X and Y. I'm really curious as to your thoughts on this video. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace. If you guys enjoyed this video, check out this one right here. Otherwise, you should check out this one. Otherwise, the aliens are gonna come and they're gonna steal your Nintendo Switch.